Don't ask me. So.
All right, let's get started. Welcome to Salt Lake Python. That's bright. I'm going to sit down. We are very generously hosted by the U. Tonight, David's our host, so let's give him a round of applause. Hope you all got a chance to get some pizza out there. That's provided by... Do we have any sponsors?
X-Mission.
X-Mission.
All the stuff is in the thing. It literally tells you.
Please be patient as we set up in this new space.
See, it's old.
Yeah, X-Mission and Pythonistas like you. I jumped ahead a bit.
So we'll do general. You could do whatever you want.
Okay, so SLC Python, a little bit. I'm not going to give all the intro that Ferris does because I don't remember it. But February 2012 is when we started meeting, right? Happened after Ferris met some people at a place. They were, oh, did I say 2012? 2014.
There was a coffee shop.
There was coffee.
There was Sugar House Coffee,
There was
right?
Django.
I'm not here.
We are, SLC Python is part of a bigger umbrella called Utah Python. It helps to provide resources for all of the Python meetups in Utah. Some of the other Utah Python meetups are, well, you already know about SLC Python. There's Utah North, which is hosted by Dr. El Shabib. Louis? Yes. I always forget your first name.
Next week, if anybody's interested, we're doing graphics.
Hey, why don't you bring it down here?
You come on up.
I can't. I want to be in order.
You work at the Air Force Base, right?
Yeah.
Just fly a plane there.
Do you normally switch to the camera once you're going?
Just
Or do you keep it?
You click the camera,
Okay.
and then you click transition, and you can transition back
cool.
and forth.
All right. So there are the people.
Oh, yes,
Back
you're
to the
being
slide.
recorded live, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's
Just
what this is
FYI.
for. There is also Salt Lake Pie Ladies. Anyone from Pie Ladies here?
No?
No? Okay.
We usually have a lot of pie ladies here.
Yeah.
They're all here for you normally.
I think.
Yeah,
Oh, you
they
know
were just
why?
so
You know
sad they
why?
weren't
They
here.
have their own meetup tonight.
Oh,
They
that's
have-
right, the
they have a
Ladies
big
Summit
meetup
tonight.
today. They have the Ladies Summit at
I think it's happening now.
right now. Yeah, at Open
Yes.
West. So
Um,
So Open West is right now?
yeah.
yes. It's running today, tomorrow, well, through Saturday, basically at Southtown Expo. I think they're sold out. Pretty sure they're sold out. There's also Python at the Point / South Valley. They meet in Lehigh right now, right?
Yeah, at Needle, I think.
I think last I heard they were meeting at Salt Stack. I mean,
Oh.
at Salt,
Interesting.
but they might have moved since then. I don't think it's been Needle for a while.
We're in that MX building.
In the what, sorry?
The MX building.
Oh, they're in MX now?
I'm not sure. Canopy?
Oh, Canopy, okay.
They're in one of those hot new tech startups.
Yeah, just drive around. No, just kidding. That's all on Meetup. There's also a Provo
Nope.
Python? No, there's not.
It is now Python at the Point.
Okay. Yes. Also, there's Girl Develop It. They meet. There's a Salt Lake City branch that meets over at OC Tanner. But there might also be one in Provo, I believe. Our websites are slcpy.com and utahpython.org. Technologies. We have GitHub repos at github.com/slcpython and also the Utah Python. Long name. We are always looking for new sponsors. So if anybody has a company that would like to sponsor us, talk to Ferris.
And I'll just say quickly, because X-Mission's been sponsoring the last 4 meetups. Actually, since we got this new space, they've been sponsoring like crazy. I think their contributions have exceeded 1,500 this year so far. They pay for everything. They've been actually sponsoring more than any other sponsor we've had for pizza, raffle prizes. Raffle prizes have included Raspberry Pis lately as a result, which is really nice. These books are our raffle prizes tonight. they might look small, but like this one's like $50 and this one's $50. So like they completely sponsor these excellent resources. And today I'm going to give my spiel real quick, if that's okay. Today,
Ferris has a
more than
spiel for
ever,
us.
you should be supporting people like X Mission. If you're not aware, today is Save the Internet Day. I feel like we have to do this every 3 or 4 years, where a new bill or a new political something other threatens our way of life. If you don't understand what net neutrality is, who has cable? Who has ever bought a cable like TV subscription? Now imagine having to pay extra for channels, but instead of channels, they're websites. So if you were on Stack Overflow, for example, you'd have to pay another, $2 a month for the Stack Overflow program. Otherwise, you're going to get, your internet throttled down to a very low speed. Don't believe what Comcast is trying to say. Oh, we're for net neutrality. That's total BS. They've been lobbying for it. They want to self-regulate it. The only way to preserve net neutrality is to have Title II regulation through the FCC. Title II would make it so it's just like your phone line. Nobody gets treated better or worse. Everybody gets same access. Not having net neutrality would mean everything from censorship to the inability for you to start your new Python startup. So tomorrow, I want everybody to do me a favor. Please, I'm begging you. Look up your congressman. Mine, for example, is Congressman in absentia because it was Jason Chaffetz. So if you don't have one because you're in the 3rd district, go ahead and just call Senator Mike Lee. He has been answering the phone on this. I already called him today. Call them and tell them, hey, my livelihood kind of depends on having net neutrality. Mike Lee is an especially poignant case because he also introduced a bill about a month ago saying that he wants to get rid of net neutrality. And make it so that FCC does not have control over questions of net neutrality. I'm usually not political here, except we are a Python programming meetup group, and this does affect our livelihood. So this is one of those times you kind of have to get a little bit political in the United States. So please do yourselves a favor, give them a call. It really doesn't take long. There's scripts you can find online, and the more calls they get, the more they'll actually say, oh, my constituents actually care about this issue. Oh, this might make it so the next Amazon or the next eBay does not move into Utah because this congressman didn't support this or that. So just keep this in mind, and that's as political as I'm going to get. And thank you in advance. Boom. That's my spiel. Oh, and X Mission, they've always promised not to do this, and they've actually lobbied against it, and they'll pay to have Title II. So.
Clapping. Wonderful.
Let me stop you. Did you just arrive?
Yep.
Let me do name tags and keep around.
If you're wondering about our money matters, you can find all of our past expenses and sponsorship on the Meetup page. Just go to the Money tab.
Except July.
Except July. Yes. Who is new today? Who's at their first meetup?
Lots of people.
You all get to introduce yourselves. We're going to say our name, occupation, and a favorite thunderstorm activity.
Hopefully
Trying
indoors.
Power's usually better here,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm trying to call upon the gods.
I guess
July,
I will
asked
start.
the same question, and at the end of the meetup, the power went out due to a thunderstorm. So that's always been legend. Can I ask you a quick question of the new members, though? Who is here because it's like summer? Is that I'm just trying to take a quick server, and you have more free time?
And
Who's
there's
here
air
because
conditioning
it's the
here.
second week of the month, and that's a better time for you? Anybody? You're just new. You just decided to try something new.
Summertime's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then who's here because you were looking at your New Year's resolutions and you realized it's halfway through the month and you want to learn a new programming? No? Oh.
That has nothing to do with resolutions.
Oh, I check my New Year's resolution every quarter, so
Cool.
one of them is starting a meetup group.
So I'll start. My name is Walter. I work as a software developer, which is going to be really surprising. My favorite thunderstorm activity is going inside and looking out the windows at the thunderstorm. Who else is new? Hands up.
I'm
You
not
wanna do
new.
it?
I'm just
Okay.
playing.
How about you?
I'm JT. I work with Sandy. Wasn't a client-facing role. Recently transitioned over into DevOps role. Well, very introductory.
Cool.
So, just looking into things here.
Awesome. You get to pick the next person.
Oh no, you don't, because you haven't told us your favorite activity to do.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
thunderstorm.
My favorite activity during a thunderstorm.
It's going to be a mess next month.
Definitely running outside of it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Bold.
I'll watch you get hit by lightning.
It's the #1 killer from natural disasters.
Okay, you get to pick the next new person to intro.
That next to me.
Cool.
Hi. Jameson. I'm a mechanical engineer. I work at Foundry, and my favorite thunderstorm activity is also watching, but I prefer a porch setting rather than indoors.
Awesome. And then you get to pick the next person.
My name is Caleb, and I do web and mobile development. And my favorite thunderstorm activity is to be outside but under shelter observing.
Nice.
Caleb, did we get you? Yeah. Okay.
And hands up for new people.
Oh, hi, this is Lee.
Bunch of people.
I'm a math PhD student, just graduated. I'm coming here to just learn more math.
Cool. And what do you like to do in a thunderstorm?
On summer vacation?
Thunderstorm, sorry.
Thunderstorm.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer it.
That works. Hands up for new people. You get to pick the next person that goes between these.
Hi, my
There
name
you
is
go.
Alex. By day I'm a technical recruiter. Not trying to recruit anybody here. My hobby has been computers for basically since 1984, since I got first time introduced and it was an expected computer. But lately just as a hobby, graphics and some front-end development. Here to learn about Python because I basically just essentially started a few months back.
Awesome.
Just so you know, the group is fairly recruiter friendly. You just have a set of guidelines, which is basically.
I'm trying to get out of this industry. So
Okay.
I'm
Just letting you know. Just letting you know. We appreciate any sponsors, including recruiters, and they get their own set time to recruit. It's
I
not.
was going to talk to you about it. My company actually makes it.
Okay.
I know they do Java users group products.
Cool.
And what's your favorite? Oh, go ahead.
Watching them in Moab actually.
Oh,
In Moab.
no,
Oh
that's
yeah,
excellent
that's the best. And you get to pick the next person.
Jake?
Hi, Jake. I do scientific computing. So I worked on the ECU microscopy, and I worked on the Julia project for a while. And now I work on a company that's like a research spin-off company with a partner in Boston. Favorite thunderstorm activity? I don't know. Probably drinking.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's forgot about that step. Do we have any more new people? Okay, go ahead and choose next person.
You can just call me Cha Cha because my Chinese name is kind of hard to pronounce. And I just recently graduated from Weber State with CS. Working part-time at Weber, looking for a full-time job relating to Python. So I wanted to know more about and explore about Python. That's why I decided to come here today.
Cool.
And my activity, well, I don't know, but sometimes when I look out the window, I wonder if I can just stay in the thunderstorm. But now I think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah. Cool. And
My name is Angel, and I'm an undergrad student at the U. The major is information system, so I'm pretty new to the language. I only learned a little Java, so I just like to come here to learn a little.
Cool. And what's your favorite thunderstorm activity?
I don't really like thunderstorms.
That's an answer.
I try to make me cannot hear it.
And we had a couple more new people, right? Go ahead.
I'm Brad Robinson. I just recently graduated from Utah State, so I went to the Utah North meeting, so I met some people there.
Oh, cool.
And I just started working as an intern, software development intern.
Down here?
Yeah, in Lehigh.
Oh, cool.
So,
way down.
Sorry?
Way down.
Further down.
Yeah, it's not that far.
Yeah. Yeah, a little ways away.
Yeah.
And my favorite thunderstorm activity is unplugging my laptop and playing the game.
Oh, sweet. Cool. Thanks, everybody.
I'll do a quick intro. I'm Ferris. I work at Team, senior backend janitor. My favorite thunderstorm activity is to look at the flights on FlightAware, especially when they go over the airport and look for little loops and see all the planes like divert around it. It's kind of cool.
That's cool. Next up, who's hiring?
Does anybody know of anybody who's hiring or?
Any interesting?
It's not Python.
It's fine.
go.
Any
Yeah.
tech job.
Any tech at all?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so we,
Oh, cool.
I believe we got a Ruby on Rails position open. I know, that's why I'm here, I need to get away from it.
What's the company name?
Payrock or iTransact, location is Centerville or Farmington. And I just say that because we just lost a dev to another company, so I assume there's a position open.
Oh, nice. Any other? Go ahead.
So Newmont University is looking for a game dev chair. There's a game development program,
Oh, I see. Okay.
and we just lost our chair. So
Did he make a game that was awesome?
he worked at Disney Infinity actually.
So he doesn't have a job anymore?
That happened a couple of years ago, though, right? 2 years ago?
Like a year ago.
Exactly 1 year.
I know. Is it too soon? Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but we have risen from the ashes as WB Games. We work for Warner Brothers now.
Oh,
Oh,
you know what
really?
that reminds me of is, do you know about the lawsuit that happened like 10 years ago? This daycare started putting like Mickey Mouse and all these Disney characters, like a set of daycares, and they were painting them on the walls, and Disney turned around and sued them. And Warner Brothers turned around and said, here's a license in perpetuity for all the characters, and we're sending 3 artists to paint them on your walls overnight. So
Nice. And we had somebody over here, right? Yeah.
The company I work for, One Click Retail, is growing very, very fast. We are not, currently we're running everything on PHP. It's awful, but they are wanting to transition into Python. So if anybody has a mind to develop Python microservices framework, that would be great.
Cool.
That's actually the problem I came with today, so it's sidelines,
Sure.
E-commerce is hard.
Sorry,
Anybody else?
Jab in that Walter, he programs in PHP.
Yep, I do. I get to do some Python.
Team makes office management productivity software, including one called Eventboard, which lets you book meeting rooms. They have a lot of clients. They've actually started a round of hiring, so we have new teams. We're looking for everything from web developers to customer success people or salespeople. We're also looking for a director of engineering. So, because Lucas actually stepped away from team, he's moving to Germany. If you don't know Lucas, he is kind of a cornerstone of the Python community here. Writes a lot of really good blog posts, but because of some personal reasons, he's just finding it necessary to move to a completely different country. So, yeah, he's going to Germany. Good for him. He might be here for the August meetup. He can't make it here, but he's going to be back and forth between here and Germany until he moves at the end of August. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then they're also looking for, I think there's an opening for a data scientist, but I'm not sure. But just ping me or go to that site, and yeah.
Cool. Anybody else hiring? Go.
Vivint, I know they have a lot of openings that they're going to have, or if they don't have them already. I don't know how many Python jobs there are. But,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great jobs there. So.
Cool.
And that would be Vivint Home, right?
Yeah, smart home.
Oh yeah.
Because
Good
solar
call.
is a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't know anything about caregiving, so.
All right.
Well, I guess since I mentioned WB Games, I usually kind of keep my head down about these things, but I just had to set up a couple of interns, so I know we're hiring interns at WB Games. I think in Unreal Engine development, so that's what we're doing.
Oh, sorry. That's right.
That's Unreal.
Yeah. I have a lot of fun with Unreal.
Cool. Anybody else?
So
Go ahead.
yeah, we're always looking for people with a background in scientific computing. You know Python or C++, like getting really down into detail.
Who is we?
My company before, TileDB Inc. It's based out of Boston, but you can work remote.
What is it?
TileDB Inc. It's you do data storage services for scientific computing.
Did I spell it
Like
right?
genomics specifically.
You want to make this one?
So yeah, if you have that kind of background, you
Just
can
hit
work
plus.
out and just come talk to me.
How's that? Is that better? Cool.
Yeah, tile. TILE.
Oh, TileDB.
Yep. Oh, TileDB.
Oh,
sorry.
TileDB.
I will not click on there. Anybody else hiring?
BCG is hiring. I know they want a developer there, but I was talking to the guy at BCG. He was saying that they want solid developer. They didn't actually specify the language itself. Said it could be Python, could be Java. It's just they got something that's running on Smalltalk. They're
Interesting.
all day they develop. But he was saying that they want some solid developers who will be able to basically learn that. And 100% remote possibility. Even though you're here, or 100% remote.
Cool. And do we have another hand going up?
I guess skipped over.
Varsity group?
Sorry,
I just missed out.
Sorry.
The genetics lab I work at here on campus is looking for a developer, probably a CS student.
Oops.
But scientific computing probably like takes what they're looking for. But most of what we do is genetic simulation in Java. But I would be the user. We're a bunch of statisticians.
Cool. Anyone else hiring? Who's looking?
This is the part where you get to market yourself.
Yes. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself
You have
and
to stay
what you're
on
looking for.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah,
Remind us of your name and your contact deets and what you're looking for.
You typing this?
If you have a laptop, you could do it yourself.
I don't have my laptop. So yeah, my name is Cha, and yeah, I just graduated from Weaver with a CS. I've done Java and C++ and C# and those languages they taught in college. But I'm willing to learn new programming languages, and I'm not limiting myself only to Python or something. So
He's gonna let you type your name.
I was an intern at iPipeline, where it was a sovereign company, Salt Lake for almost a year. It was a data service intern, just kind of like helping them doing data mapping using JavaScript. So I kind of use XML and SQL Server just to test the mapping. Yeah, mostly JavaScript, but not too deep because it wasn't a programming position. Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else looking?
Everybody's gainfully
Awesome.
employed.
Cool.
Welcome to the Utah ratio. More people looking.
And I guess now's a good time to introduce the Bring Your Own Problem so that people can be thinking about it.
Oh yeah, so we're gonna go over some community news, but Yeah, do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, just so you can, what we're doing tonight is bring your own problem. While we finish up the rest of the announcements, I want you to be thinking about a problem you might have, like write it down or type it in or whatever.
Well, you could type it at the bottom of this if you have
Oh, yeah.
Etherpad.
If you get on the Etherpad, you can type it under the topics here, down below. This way everybody can see what the questions are, and we can kind of, you know, prevent duplicates and be organized about this a little bit. So yeah, if you've brought a problem, just type a quick version of it there, and then we will call people up, or you can stand up and explain your problem, or you can come up and display something that kind of helps give a sense of what you want answered. How would I install Snake onto my computer? Yes,
Does that
that's a
come
good
with,
question.
Samuel L. Jackson? Or is that an add-on?
That's extra. And then if people have an answer, you can either stand up and explain that in a way that's useful to at least the asker, or you can come up and show off a Python notebook or something you have that'll help answer the question. Either way. And so yeah, just be thinking about that as we're moving forward with this. We had the MC selection. We kind of already addressed that, I believe.
Well,
It's
there's
gonna
an
be
open question now.
rock, paper, scissors, right?
Yeah. Who wants the next meetup to be the first Wednesday again, which is what it typically is for next month, the 3rd?
So that would be the 3rd.
Versus August 10th, which would be the Wednesday after.
Who doesn't care?
Who doesn't care? Nobody cares.
Okay, the I don't cares win.
So the I don't cares win. My only concern is I had to defer my honeymoon due to a medical emergency, but everything's fine now. So hopefully I'll be out on the 20th. Otherwise, this was going to be the meetup I missed, but now it's going to be the 3rd that I missed. So Walter's doing such a terrible job right now.
I am.
No,
It's
I'm just kidding.
awful.
No, I'm thinking Walter's rocking it. So I'm thinking the 3rd. We should just stick to that. That way we're back on schedule, because I'd rather have it on schedule than off.
Okay.
The only other thing is, okay, I don't want to spoil it, but I do have an autographed copy of a very awesome programming book coming for the next one. So that'll be cool.
That's
I'll
exciting.
make sure he gets the copy to give away at the next one.
Cool. All right, so we already talked about keeping the net free. We mentioned Open West. Oh, yeah, that's from last month.
I know that the Open West, they are still looking for volunteers.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
right. They mentioned that.
And they might give you a free pass in if you're willing to jump in and volunteer. So,
Good point. I hadn't thought of that.
I mean, that's always attractive, or was when I was a student.
And you get to learn a lot about community management and things like that if you kind of get the idea.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's also
like, you run the camera for the presentation, so like same deal. You attend the presentation, you're just behind the camera.
right. You get to meet some people, especially the speakers and whatever. So that's fun.
Any other community news? People know? 2 Scoops was released.
2 scoops.
Yeah.
1.11.
This one has a lot of stuff about Django REST framework.
All right.
And any other community news?
Any tech news other than what I mentioned with keeping the net free day? And everybody, what are you going to do tomorrow? Huh? Call your senator or congressman. Be like, hey, you're threatening my livelihood, so I'm going to threaten your vote.
That's how you put it, right? When you're on the phone?
No, I pretend I'm Republican. Seems to go much further.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting idea. And this is not currently being broadcast on YouTube, so.
Hey, YouTube's on the board too, so.
Mm-hmm. And we're always looking for talks. You know, people to present, ideas for presentations that someone else can pick up and do. Just whatever. We have a long list already if you'd like to add to it, or you can just shout something out if you have something right off the top of your head. No.
No.
Okay.
Flask? Did somebody say Flask?
Flask. Do we not have Flask on there?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. And with that, we can. Are you ready to move on to the BYLP?
We'll take a 3-minute break.
Okay.
If you have more topics, come up and you don't have your laptop, come up here and I'll type them in for you real quick. Otherwise, feel free to use the restroom, get some water, get more pizza, or make a donation to your local friendly Python meetup group.
Yeah. Cool.
So we'll take
back
5.
here in 5.
Yeah.
Stop the streaming is what you're saying?
No, don't stop the streaming. Just mute it.
How do you mute it?
Now we're going to forever have this recorded where I'm talking and then mid-sentence
All right, so let's get started with picking our problems. Should we go in order, or should we pick things that are most relevant to people, do you think?
I was thinking we'd start from easiest to hardest.
Oh, that sounds good.
And I added some stars.
So one of the easiest probably is going to be, how do I install Python? Who asked that one?
Me.
You?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ask your question.
So, what this Python thing, it has like this .exe, and I don't know, I'm on a Windows machine and I don't understand how Python's installed. I honestly, personally, actually, I haven't installed Python on Windows for years. So, anybody know what's involved in that process?
I have a kind of cool suggestion because, I mean, so in game development, we're using mostly Visual Studio and C++, right? I don't know if any of you know that Visual Studio supports Python.
Yes.
So if you just download the Visual Studio Community Edition, which is free to learn on stuff like that, there's actually a Python module in there, and it's really cool. It comes with all the bonuses of Visual Studio with the code completion, debugging, virtualization, pretty neat. You can set up virtual environments, and it was actually really nice. And this is, I think, they're in their second generation now. And so there's even templates for starting Django projects and like lots of stuff that just floored me. I couldn't believe it. It was really neat.
I've been really impressed with Microsoft and the community lately, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, all that stuff with the automatically generated requirements text for you for your virtual environment and everything is just really neat, actually. So
excellent.
Nice.
Thank you.
So that's a way of doing it without actually going to Python.
So every time I hear Windows and Python, it always goes through my head.
Must.
It started in 2015. 2015, I think you had to get the Python module separately. 2017, just in the box. Community edition.
Other answers? Maybe other platforms? Come on, people. You've
Well,
never
on a
installed
Mac,
Python?
it's
Let's just say
there.
one thing there. The hardest
On
thing
Linux,
about
it's
installing
there.
Python on Windows, it's just getting your paths right.
Well, the thing is,
Well set up.
I think the
Path
saying
that
is
is
never
easy.
use system Python, right? Anybody want to elaborate as to why?
We'll never change system Python.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also never use it.
Well, you can use the system Python and use a virtual environment and be just fine, right?
What's a virtual environment?
I don't know. What is a virtual environment? Who wants to answer that question? Go ahead.
It's just an isolated environment where your variables won't affect the main installation of Python. Best way I understand it. It's a
And-
box.
Sorry?
It's a box.
It's a box.
It unlocks in the cloud, right?
Doesn't have to be on the local machine.
Right.
Is that the answer to your question, Ferris? You threw that on there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're running on Linux, there's a lot of stuff that uses Python. And so they install Python there, and all of this other things that help your computer run as usual use the system Python. When you're doing a project, you're going to want to install other things like Flask or Django or SciPy or whatever. And you might need a different version of Python. You might need to adjust things around a little bit. And that's why you don't want to use the system Python, because if you start messing around with the system Python, all of a sudden your system and your computer may not be working as expected.
Mhm.
That's what a virtual environment does. It makes a box, and it's isolated from everything else. It pretends like there wasn't any Python there to begin with, and it's all yours.
Cool.
But you can also install multiple versions of Python in directory. So that,
Mhm.
don't have to use the system.
Has anybody done virtual env Python in 3.6 yet? Did you know
I
any
have not.
differences?
Between what?
3.6 or 3.5, I think, introduced using Python-M and then VENV. Does anybody work with that? Okay, I'll link to it. It gets a little bit more advanced. But basically,
That was around before 3.5, wasn't it?
when was it? Let's see. They introduced it. They deprecated. They deprecated PyEnv in favor of using Python 3-M.
So that's not the same thing. Okay.
So there was a deprecation. Boom. Oh wait, they're actually doing Python 3 and Learn Python the hard way now?
Yes. Just announced.
That's interesting. So for people who don't know, the link that was just added, the guy who wrote this, Zed Shaw, has kind of been snubbing his nose at Python up until the latest versions. So he was always telling his students don't use Python 3, but now he's saying use Python 3 now. So that's cool news.
Cool. I think that question is answered.
Yeah, and there's some links.
Yeah, there are some links to
By the
check
way,
out
this-
on the Etherpad.
This Etherpad is linked to as a comment in the Meetup group. So if you're wondering, hey, how do I get to this thing? That's where it is.
Yeah, that's a good, easy way to find it. Looks like the next easy question is, what are some common Python GUI libraries? Actually, I will let the asker ask that. So Chi had that question about the. Do you want to ask your question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because you
about
asked
the
it to
GUI
me, you have to answer it to
libraries.
the group.
Yeah, so basically repeat your question so that we can get an answer.
So, yeah, I'm just a beginner to Python right now. So right now I'm learning the built-in GUI library for TK. And so I was just wondering, what are other common GUI libraries out there, and what's recommend for beginners to learn? And if it's easier than TK, or which one is better on what situation, and the other one is better for the situation. Just wondering.
Cool. Does anybody have any recommendations, suggestions there?
I've been writing programs using Tinker, not .tk, and seems to be working pretty good. And we have some of the people that work are using GTK for Python.
TK Inter?
You have it at the bottom of the other list.
Yeah, I know. I just want to get a link.
Oh, there we go.
Kivy do some of that too.
So Kivi's like a game programming interface, right?
It's a good start, though.
That's pretty good for GUI too.
I know people who used Pygame to do interfaces back when Pygame was a thing.
Nice.
It still is, I think. I mean, you're limited to 2D, right?
Yeah.
So flat.
What's it?
General suggestion.
Is Kiwi 1D or 2?
Oh, we spelled it up above on my native one with 1D.
Yeah, actually I'm learning TK Inter right now. That's why I'm using not TK.
Oh, cool.
There was at the conference. There was another one that people were saying. I don't know if it's just Beware or was. I'm trying to remember.
Well, Beware talks to Tickle TK, I think, right? TCL or something.
And it has a transpiler as well.
Yeah. That might be what you were thinking of.
No, it was in a tutorial.
Go
I
I
did
did
look
play
at the
with
tutorials.
Beware a little bit a month or so ago, and they don't have Big Nose support. They do, but it needs a lot of development. It's very basic support.
Yeah, that's the opinion about a lot of the interfaces. You know, it's kind of a building up a cross-platform thing. You know, kind of like the early days of GTK, right? Cool. So I think that one's pretty well answered too. So now we can move on to 2-star items. We already answered virtual M's. You had.
Sorry, I was just adding that in there. What he was mentioning about PyQt.
Okay, so who had the question about importing modules? That was you?
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask your question.
So when working on larger projects, I'm just and when you have to have things in different folders, like you have a separate folder for your tests, and then you have a source folder along with maybe different modules. How do you? What's the best way to import from between folders and things like that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of make it work, but it looks really hacky and terrible with the way I'm doing it at this point.
So is that a suggestion?
Yeah, I can start with a little suggestion. I've had some experience. Oh, actually, I've packaged my fair share of open source projects by now. I basically just followed that tutorial now. And, are you doing a web application or a desktop or just a general Python app?
It's, I guess, a Python app.
So it can get tricky. It depends on whether or not you want it to be installable. Yeah, no, perhaps.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll have to get it running on a server.
Yeah, so a lot of people will actually just turn it into a full app. If you go to that link, it'll walk you through how to do the scaffolding. Things to consider are, what was it?
Where is that?
So when you say a full app, do you mean a package?
You want to scroll down?
Oh yeah. Like up.
Oh yeah, no, down. Sorry.
Oh okay.
So yeah, I'm saying you can make your own package, and when you're trying to import your own things, if you're using virtual environment, what I'll do is I'll actually add that folder, the source folder, into the virtual environment. The other pattern I've seen a lot of is doing the app name and then another folder with the app name, and that's actually where your source is. So instead of a lot of projects like C or Java will have an src file or source file, or sorry, folder that has all the stuff in it. In Python, you just kind of duplicate the name, and then that'll be the actual source will be in there. And then you'll have your setup file up one level from that. Anybody else have some insight, maybe a little bit simpler if you're not wanting to package?
Well, I'm doing it pretty much the way he's talking about it, which is pretty clumsy, and I'm having to duplicate my common routines into my subfolders so I can get everything into the same runtime. And that's why I was interested in your question about that. Because, okay, I've got a util folder here. Okay, copy the util folder under every project. I can't just go out and say, okay, include that util folder for everybody. And I don't want to turn the util folder into a separate app.
Yeah, so in that case, it might be an issue of namespacing. So everybody know what namespacing is? Who doesn't know? Who's new here? New to Python. So, okay, I'm going to have my app. Is it kind of written up here? Yeah, cool.
Yes.
So I'm going to make an app called like, I don't know, what's a fun?
At the bottom.
Okay, my app is called Apple, right? So you could have like Apple, and then, oh, I just realized Apple's actually a computer term. Damn it, stupid Apple computing. So you could have like apple.utils.py, right? And then there's two different ways you can import from that. So if you're actually in the Apple folder, all you have to do is say import utils, but it's a much better idea to just say from Apple import utils, like that. So if you keep your namespacing nice and clean, then you could just start doing things like where you have Apple, so you'll have to have that file, and then Apple something utils, and it could be the same name, and then you could say from apple.something import utils.
Okay, what about if you have an app called Grapes?
Yeah.
And you want to use the utils from there?
That's a very good question too. Basically what you're going to want to do is you'll basically add another, you can either add another folder. So in Django they do this a lot where everything's an app. So you have an apps folder, and then you install all of them as that, and you can add the apps to your virtual environment. But in that case, if it's not Django, pretty much everything else, you will make a pip package and just pip install it into your current virtual environment. And to do that locally, you'll do pip install e dot. And then you'll just be able to say from grapes import utils or something like that.
Thank you. 6 months worth of work answered in 10 minutes.
Excellent.
Well, you can do anything really. I mean, it's fully overloaded, right? So you can make it do whatever you want it to.
And
you can make it go fetch something on the internet and pull it down and run it.
Exactly.
So that's what
But if you're writing local stuff, these are the two main approaches, which is make a virtual environment and then just use add to virtual env. and then that can be used. This is more used for Django. You do this a lot, where you'll say, hey, here's my current working directory, add everything in apps to the virtual environment, and it'll install all of them as if they're an app. But this is pretty much only acceptable in Django, and maybe a couple places like Twisted, I think, does this. But then for the most part, just make a package like that first answer, and then dev on each package and install it that way.
Yeah, so this is basically the same as extending your modules path, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So say, for example, you did from Apple import utils and from Grapes import utils. Would Python differentiate from those, or would you have to do import utils as, and then list a name?
They'll collide. You'll want to.
Yeah, that's when you start saying import utils as grape utils. So did people understand that question? If you have two imports and you need like utils from both, you can import both of them, but you have to use the as to alias it. Otherwise, otherwise, the latest one that you imported will be the one that's actually used. The other one will just get cleared out of the memory.
I haven't tried it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that part's in order. So, and yes, that's from experience, unfortunately. Another fun fact with that, by the way, if you're in Python 2.7 and you mess up your import on an already running program, like a web application, and you mess up the import with the wrong name, or sorry, it's from the wrong place, all of the .pyc references will still have the old one, and they're pretty much hard-coded. So you'll have to go through and find all the pyc files and delete them manually.
Nice.
So if you ever run into that, gotcha.
I might have hit that before.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. Who was asking about the best way to make a standalone app on a PC? I thought it might be you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Here's my situation. I've been using C++ and basically Virtual Studio, Visual Basic, etc. And I've been making my applications, and everything lives well and runs well. And I can send it out to people and have them run standalone and independent with apps that have Windows and everything else associated that we're used to. Now, I'm in a situation now where I have one third-party application that's costing me a pretty penny per year. And I want to rebuild it in Python, but again, I want the same type of utility where the GUI interface should be on the PC and not as a browser interface. The two alternatives I thought of were to start a program, start up a GUI a web backend on the end user's machine, and then open up a browser window. But that sounded a little bit too complicated. I'd rather just say, okay, here it is. Just like a classic application.
Cool. Looks like we have some suggestions. Show those.
Years ago, I used this thing called WinFreeze, where I don't know if it still exists or if this is the current way of doing things, but basically it traverses your whole dependency graph, and it puts everything in its own virtual environment, and then it creates an executable for you, Windows executable. So it's like a point.
Yeah, and that's fine, but what I'm saying is that I want to reinvent the wheel in Python rather than running my current Windows-based application. Okay, I want to recode it from scratch because I don't own the code.
So let's refine that problem a little bit. What particular part do you want help with? Like the recoding part, the running on Windows part?
The running on Windows I can manage.
Okay.
Okay, that part's fine. It's the Windows type interface for the end user. The GUI itself.
So you want it to look the same?
I want it to look very similar.
IQT. Like up there, the IQT.
IQT?
So which one was that?
The third line down underneath what are common Python GUI libraries.
Okay. Right there.
There you go.
Or if you're still in contact with David Armstrong,
yep.
You remember he did a presentation on Come on, voice widgets.
Oh yeah, Wix widgets. Okay. Those are fun.
I have those on.
WX is older, right? Is that
It
different
is,
from
and
WX Python?
No, it's
Okay.
Voice widgets has a reputation for being a little cantankerous, but if you know it, it'll make it affect Windows.
Cool.
As well.
And we have some other suggestions listed there. Do you want to talk about them or just let
these are
people look?
I'm literally just Googling stuff.
Oh, okay.
And putting it on there.
Okay.
So I don't see
guess
a
I'm
let me
better at
Google that
Googling
for
than
you
my dad,
link.
so.
I've spent weeks Googling this. And I found a lot of those solutions, but not quite the same. Okay, the Pi installer definitely, if anybody needs help with it, I can show you how. Okay, but
Cool.
yeah, it's the GUI side that I'm most interested in. Thanks for the suggestions.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say WX widgets or actually all the other stuff. That would be my last choice.
So does that end up using WIX then?
I don't know.
So WIX is like a package MSI installer from Microsoft.
Oh, I actually don't know.
Years ago, it's like some Microsoft guys got together and they built that.
It sounds like a different thing.
It is different.
Wix widgets, as far as I know, has no relation to WIX.
Okay. Because I was gonna say WIX, I've played with that from a sysadmin point of view of trying to change a package, and it was painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question, we have a question from John about Jupyter notebooks and different versions and kernels. Do you want to ask your question?
So I had Python 2.7 and 3.5 installed on my computer, and I couldn't get like Keras and Piano and some of those to work. And on my Jupyter notebook, and I took off 3.5, but I could never get it working. And finally, somebody helped me do some stuff to get it to work on 2.7. Now I'm trying to go up to use like TensorFlow. So I need to. And I'm on a Windows machine too. So, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get.
I'm actually just going to look it up because I'm pretty sure they have stuff about this. But
So I'm trying to get my Jupyter notebook to have two kernels, one for 2.7 and one for 3.6.
Well, you're running this on Windows.
But okay. So the other part of this is I'm trying to set it up to have a dual boot. So I'm trying to figure out if somebody would prefer like doing like Ubuntu like 17.04, or is there a better version I should use so I can get a dual boot so I can put this all on Linux rather than messing around with Windows.
We do a Python class here at the U. Well, I shouldn't say through CHBC here at the U. It's just like a 2-day thing, but we end up just using Anaconda. You know, with Anaconda, I mean, you've got what supports 2.7 the latest, and then it'll support 3.6 or another version of 3 if you want that. But having them both run at the same time, that's something a little different. We had built a modular system where you're installing one version of Anaconda and another versus another, and they're changing the environment variables for you. I haven't played on like a straight on Linux system. I don't know if you guys have, where if you can do both pretty easily, or you have to swap out the environmental variables too.
In the same notebook, you want the
Yeah, you know how when you look at the notebook, you can have things like R or Scala or
yeah.
It's like a drop down. You select it.
Yeah, so you can run
so you want
one session of 3.6 and one of 2.7.
Do you want to run
notebook, or not on two different tabs?
You want it on two different tabs, or do you want it in the same notebook?
Is it the same notebook? I mean,
Same
I don't know if
notebook.
you can really do the same kernel. I mean, well,
You can't do it. Yeah, it has to be the same kernel. So in that case, you'll be running 3.6 or 2.7 or whatever. Like, and it'll just be that. Two different tabs, then definitely use Have you used Anaconda? Yeah. So I have the whole cheat sheet here because they were at PyCon. They give out these little cheat sheets So I'm gonna look up the one that you need, but you've used it, so yeah. I think this might be one of those questions where it's like you can't really do it in the same notebook, like without. Yeah, I can't even conceive of how to do it correctly without some massive hacks.
Yeah. I mean, it'd have to be like 2 separate containers containing those kernels or something.
And then you'd be running it on localhost 4200 and then 4201 would be 2 different tabs. Do you have a suggestion?
I would disagree, like, where you say you can pick out different languages, they have a plugin interface. And if you could put something up for whatever that plugin interface that has been there for Scala, Ruby, or now Python now, I think you should be able to do it. Just look up the documentation for that interface and see what has been done. And it might just be, like I said, it's a little bit of a hack, but
Yeah.
rename Python from Python to Python 2 to Python 3.
Yeah.
Well, I bet somebody's already tried it.
Well, you
It wouldn't be trivial,
start
but
the kernel and have it map it to a different port, and then and then you have all these kernels running. It can be different languages too.
oh, that's a good idea.
And then you just in the configuration file, you just say go to this, this maps this URL that communicates with this kernel, right? Because we used to demo like Python and Julia, multiple versions of Julia, multiple versions of Python together in one notebook.
Oh, nice.
So you can definitely do it.
Do you have a pointer for that, like a URL somewhere where you described it or something?
Oh god, no, it's probably Google trial.
I just found something on Stack.
Cool. All right. Thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like you can do conduct create.
But you can definitely do it. It's just finding.
In the same notebook?
Yeah.
Did you see the link I threw up there?
No. This is interesting.
Yeah, you have to use the cell magic, but you can call in the cell magic a little header if you want to say, okay, run this cell and this
Oh, cool.
with this kernel, you can do that.
So you can do it on the same notebook just for individual cells then?
Yes, for your individual cells.
So ignore the first part of the answer. Sounds like
just ignore what everybody
So you have to declare it then for each cell, otherwise, like, I mean, what's going to happen on the next cell? What's going to inherit, right?
Yeah. So you can like run R in one cell, and then run bash in one cell, and SQL, and then whatever you want. You have to declare it. If you want 2 separate kernels, then you just have to start 2 separate kernels, but on 2 different ports.
Cool. That feels fairly answered to me.
Yeah, this is awesome, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, cool. Okay, I found another link. I'm going to paste it. It's funny, once you know how to ask it.
I'm going to override your difficulty rating on this one. So who had the easiest way to interface C programs in Python? Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
That's just the question I have. I have never done it. I have never tried it.
So are you saying like call C libraries from Python or?
APIs.
Oh, did you have an answer there?
It's fairly easy, right? I haven't done it in a long time. CFFI, is that what it is?
I actually don't remember if it was.
Do you want me to look up there?
Which way it
I can grab something.
Does it need to be fast?
Why write it in C?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Is that not what it's called?
Nostalgia?
Because there's like, you can use C types, which is built in, right? It has a lot of overhead. And you can use this, but the easiest way is to use Python. It needs to be really fast.
Use what?
Python. It's like a domain-specific language for generating.
It's like Python that starts with a C. Fast, but shall we say limiting or like constrained?
No, I mean, it's what the whole scientific Python ecosystem is.
Okay, we'll just say fast then.
Yeah, it blows a lot.
Let's show those.
A lot of times you use stuff that's already there, you already have in C, that's why.
It might be worth, I mean, this is a little off the cuff, but it might be worth mentioning the Intel version of Python. If you're doing, you know, more scientific or mathematic stuff, there is some speed ups with.
So you're talking about MKL?
Not just MKL, but they came out with a bunch of things around last year's supercomputing, 2016 fall. Intel distribution for Python. Just throw that link up. it's worth looking at. You know, it might not always be a win, but in certain cases it will. I think that there's certain like fast Fourier transforms and some other problems that you might be dealing with that you can realize the speed up with the Intel package.
Cool. Does that feel answered to you?
Yep, more or less.
Awesome. You know how to get back to this to look it up later, right? Cool. The next question, somebody was asking about porting PHP applications into Python. That was... Oh, yeah. So go ahead and ask the question if I haven't already asked it.
There's lots of aspects to that problem. Mostly I'm just looking for ideas. So that I can tell you what I already know. And then, I mean, do you want me to like expand on that more?
Yeah, how are we doing on time?
I told you it was 3 stars.
Do we want to end at 9? You got 15 minutes, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Play it by ear. 9 is usually just the guideline.
Okay. Yeah, maybe like, so what's your web server setup like? like are you set up to run different requests in like one on mod Python, mod PHP, and then one through like Whiskey or something like that?
There's no Python yet. This is, I'm looking at a legacy PHP app, and I want to turn it into something that's written in Python.
Oh, we're on this question already?
Not really tested.
Yeah, because we answered the C one very quickly.
So that's the problem in of itself. Maybe not necessarily Python.
So I've done this professionally a lot. Like this has kind of been my thing, is converting PHP projects. Do you know what microservices are? Yeah. They're like kind of like, hey, the Unix philosophy is like take the minimal thing and just, I'm explaining for everybody, I know you know, but like ls only does one thing and it does it really well, which is list all of the files in your directory. So the same thing with the microservice. I'm just going to send a request and then get a response. So that's what I've been doing lately when I'm doing PHP, just pragmatically. Like in general, what you want to do is grapplevine. Have you guys ever heard of this? Where a grapplevine will basically grow around a tree and then slowly kill it off until all that's left is the vine. That's kind of what you want to do with PHP, is just slowly strangle it.
Wait a minute. We got to give the shout out to the botanist.
Yeah. You got to slowly strangle it with your Python program, making sure more and more functionality is covered. And as you do it, you definitely want to write code coverage for it. For PHP directly, though, I think if you don't have it installed on the server, it might be a better idea to keep things separate. And with your PHP itself, you're going to want to consolidate your routing and classes if you haven't already. So if they're doing the kind of PHP where it's like the older PHP, which is the gobbledygook of spaghetti code in every single page,
where it's basically CGI.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, it's a little more civilized.
So are you using cake PHP or are you using further along? Okay, so that's good. That's a good start. The other thing about PHP, what's it called? PHP has this thing, it's more strongly typed, right? So you can actually, I'm trying to remember, there's a program that'll actually go through the program and figure out the models. Are your models, are database models directly, are they from an ORM or are you accessing them directly?
It's
or both? ORM-ish?
It has a very Rails-ish flavor.
Okay,
so
that's where I'd say start, is maybe spin up a Django app and have that app start to talk to those same models, and then start writing the CRUD for those models depending on your endpoints, and just start like endpoint by endpoint, replacing it with Python, and definitely write benchmarks along the way so you can. So here's a programmer tip, write the benchmarks so you can bring it to the higher ups when they're asking you, why is this taking 2 weeks? You can say, well, it's 10 times faster, so I just saved you X amount of money.
So
seriously, you need to be able to do this professionally or you're not going to succeed in life. Like
2 weeks or 2 months extra.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say why.
Yeah, or just have Dylan do it because he's your data science person.
But yeah, I agree. The only way you're going to make this happen is piece by piece. So you get both running at the same time. And then you farm off requests to one or the other depending on how far along you are.
Were you in that talk? Can you see that from there?
I was not. I've just done it so much that.
And you're totally in Ferris's way.
I didn't go to that one.
How I learned to love stop worrying and love the API. Yeah.
I thought it was like a good 1,000-foot overview of microservices.
And then the other thing you
Also
want to do
another difficult
is
one we wanna-
write out Swagger docs. Do you know what that is?
You mean like seriously for?
Oh, Swagger is cool.
So
for like automated testing then, or just?
well, you can use it. Do some automated testing with it with your Python, definitely. But also, if you can sketch it out like in a YAML and know exactly how your API is working, like what it's putting in and what it's coming out of it, then you already have like a documentation that your front end people won't whine at you when you just switch over the back end and not tell them like, oh, okay, by the way, this is how we're doing things now. And then the other thing is definitely use Django, REST framework, and Django. I mean, like, if you want this quick, like, just do it that way. Don't, I don't know. I'm being more prescriptive rather than descriptive, but I would say just do that. Don't bother using other frameworks right now. Blog-based development, where you're just reading the new hotness and then deving on that, is not going to help you in this case. So just get away from PHP. Run, scream. Yeah, unless you're Facebook, in which case embrace it, apparently.
We're in a good place right now. We have bigger problems to deal with.
Your CEO.
So for people who don't know, and I might be wrong, I only learned about Swagger at my new job, actually. But if I had known about it before.
So it's a cross-platform API description language, basically, right?
Yeah.
Or tool.
You want to specify what API means in that context?
Why don't you just pull up the website?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can pull up the website. Basically, it lets you visualize what your requests and responses are going to look like. So let's say you have your front-end dev. Instead of having to show them like a Django model or something and say, hey, go through this and figure it out, you can just tell them, this is what I'm promising you. You go to this URL and send this stuff. Then you're going to get
and I'm not even broadcasting
this other
this
stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna. So if you send a post request to this directory with these parameters in it, then I will create it. And here's the authentication you need, and here's all the other little details you need. As an added bonus, if you start open sourcing parts of your API, well, you already have your Swagger docs ready to go. So, and they can just get converted into a website.
And there are lots of tools that work with this.
Yep.
Like, so it's
a
very
common
portable.
Ooh, the other cool hotness that's coming around, I just said don't do blog-based development, but now I'm about to show you something. Definitely use Python 3.6, because if you start doing type hinting with your Django, you can use stuff. There's a new API web framework, and it's still in development, but you might want to just like use Django and then try using this instead of DRF. It's the same author of DRF, and I want to do a talk about API star. Okay. But basically, API star will go through your types. So let's say you have this type like cat and a subtype kitten and all this other stuff. It'll build out your Swagger docs for you. So you don't even have to generate them yourself.
So the one design pattern I'd say against doing that, and what I know we did at Team, was when you have the document, it says this is what the API is going to deliver and what the front end should expect. That becomes your contract between your back end and your front end. And the same thing is really good with microservices. If you define, here's the contract that we both agree upon, and use that contract not only for documentation, but also for testing on both systems, then you help keep everything aligned. Whereas when you do something like this, you then can't use it to test your current system.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
It's a good point. But if I had a greenfield project, which is a brand new project, and somebody just told me to build it, and it was like an endpoint project, I would totally use API star. It's still in development, but it's written by the same guy who did Django REST framework.
Does it work within Django, or is it totally?
It works within Django. Yeah, it works within Django. It works within Flask or Django or anything. Actually, that's the other point of it, is that he's trying to build something a little bit more or a little bit less, more agnostic than Django REST framework, which of course relies on Django. But I think it still works with Django too. Like you could still do the modeling based on that. But yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and for our older guys, we'll explain it to you. That's what we did when we got rid of COBOL.
You never got rid of it. Yeah.
I did.
I mean, Yeah.
You do what we called it was black boxing. You put the COBOL in a black box and you wrap your code around it.
Isn't that called the IBM mainframe?
That's it. And you just, you know, treat it as an API.
They're black nowadays, at least.
Yeah. Tom Christie's the author, by the way. And by the way, if your company is using Django REST framework, they should probably consider making a monthly contribution, because he's definitely trying to turn this into his full-time job, and having a guy like this have this be his full-time job would be a huge benefit for the community. So
Cool. I think we have run through our questions, so I think we should wrap up, and then maybe we can chat for a little bit after.
Yeah.
I am not set up to do the randomization, are you?
yes, you are. You have Python on there, don't you?
Yeah, probably.
If
All
you
right,
can't write
fine.
this program from scratch, I'm firing you as MC.
Very black.
So
That's not very black.
No, it's just
Okay,
a very
yeah.
bright screen.
So then you do, you know.
Nobody held the.
So what's the latest number?
Let's
that
see
we
how
got?
poorly I can do.
Do we have 21? Wait, better question. Do we have 2 14s? I might have screwed that number up.
Who's
Just 1 14?
I'm 14.
So we do have 2 14s. So we have a 20.
Collision.
So one of you is a 21 now.
If we get no, or if we get a 14, we'll then just do like. A,
So you said you're 21?
Okay.
Okay.
Who's 22?
No, 21's the highest.
22, 23.
Oh, thanks for it.
Oh, okay.
So
Does that look right to everyone? I'm doing a little mob. No?
what are you doing? Magic variables? Jeez.
Huh? What are you talking about, magic variables?
Okay, this is why we pair program, okay? Jeez.
That's what we're doing. This is not pair programming, by the way. You're a crappy pair programmer.
What was it? 23 Pythonistas,
No,
right?
you were 23?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got 23.
Okay.
Okay, see?
And then you're going to do it wrong again. Okay.
Okay, random.randint.
See that? No. See
There
that?
you
That's
go.
awesome.
And then it's 0 in number of Pythonistas.
But isn't it a half open interval?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I know, it's always whether you count the fences or the fence posts or the fence in between.
0.
You.
No.
All right, we're going to do another one because he's a poor sport.
No,
This is
no,
not
no,
working.
I know.
So,
Better
Cool.
put a question mark on that one. Check out the actual instructions.
No, it's all right. Let's do it again.
we're just going to do it again? Okay. No, that's not going to work. I don't know how to use computers.
Okay, so if you
Hit enter again one more time, just to make sure it's not actually. Yeah, see?
Oh, it's random.
This wasn't a bug, it was actually it hit 0 twice.
Birthdays.
Wow.
Okay.
It really wanted
All
to
right.
get
It really
both.
wants me to
Wow.
take a book.
That's like a.
It does. So who's 9? All right. You want to come up? Or
By the way, that was the quintessential definition of a Heisenbug.
me or Ferris?
What's the?
So
Okay.
what we have hands-on machine learning with scikit-learn and TensorFlow. This one just came out.
And this one is Introduction to Machine Learning with Python.
This one, a lot of
This
curriculums
one?
are
Okay.
based on this now. So
That is yours. And for simplicity, I'm just going to go ahead and draw your number again. Oh, yeah.
We'll let you enter again.
there's something wrong with your seed, I think.
There's got to be, right?
It's me.
That's you.
Why don't we do it again?
You want to do it again?
It's
All
going
right.
to be 0 or 2.
I just want to throw this out there. I mean,
I'm not very random.
maybe not
tonight.
everyone knows, but Safari online books. That's one
O'Reilly
of the reasons why I
books
probably say no to this is because I
are
can get it
available.
online. I highly recommend it if you guys don't buy it. If you wait till usually Cyber Monday, you get it half off. Normally $400, $200.
Yeah.
Huge benefit to your career.
Okay, so who's 16? Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
That's right.
No. TensorFlow's intense. Sorry for the
In
play on words,
TensorFlow?
but it's
Cool.
more like in TensorFlow, am I right?
Well, that's it. So we'll see you guys on the 3rd. See you all on the 3rd.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I will not be here, hopefully, this time.
Hopefully you will not be here.
And then I just hit stop streaming.
Yep.